Hey there, so today we are talking about the ASUS CX1 Chromebook. This unit goes for about $130 to $150 on Amazon, so it is a super budget-friendly option, and let's talk about it. First off, the unboxing experience was actually pretty good. It just comes in this like super simple box. It says in search of the incredible, so nothing super fancy, except when you open the box, it does this little like fold out action where that kind of comes towards you. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of flashy for a $130 product. So the unboxing experience was actually pretty good, better than most Chromebooks and laptops in general that I've unboxed. Most of them just come in those cardboard boxes and you slip them out, and it's kind of weird, super protective cardboard thing. But this one was actually pretty nice. Other than that, it just comes with this 45-watt USB-C charging brick, which is super small and compact, and it is USB-C, and that's a huge win. There are still laptop manufacturers out there that are shipping brand new laptops with barrel jack style charging. And I just think in 2022, all of us should be using USB-C for charging. And so the fact that this does ship with a USB-C charger is a pretty big deal to me. The I/O is pretty simple. On the left side, you have a USB-C for charging. You have a micro SD card reader right here. Then you have your headphone microphone jack combo, and then you have a USB-A port. And I believe that is just a USB-A 2.0 port, so you're not going to get insane transfer speeds with that. And then on the other side, you just have a single USB-C port. So super basic I/O, but I can't imagine a scenario in which you're going to be plugging in a lot of peripherals to a Chromebook. So I think it's what you need, and I don't think it's anything more, which is actually kind of the theme of this laptop. Specs are nothing fantastic either. It's running on 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of eMMC storage, and that's not particularly fast storage. It's basically like they took a 32 gigabyte SD card and they soldered it to the motherboard. So it's not the fastest storage, but it works out okay. And the RAM that it's using is LPDDR3, so it is a generation back. But that will make sense when I mention that it's running on an Intel Celeron N3350, which is a 2-core, 2-thread processor from about 5.5 years ago. So it's a low-end processor, and it's kind of an old processor, and that does affect its performance. I should point out that most Chromebooks under $200 on Amazon are going to contain some pretty low-end chips from several years ago, and so this is not alone in its performance. It is on the lower end of performance for even its category, but a lot of Chromebooks on Amazon are going to have pretty similar performance, and this is one of the cheapest, so that is something to consider. From my experience, you'll be able to do like YouTube watching and basic internet browsing okay. It'll take a little bit of time to load up websites, but once you're loaded up, things are actually going to be just fine. And then using Google Docs and other web-based apps, that's going to be just fine. But it does struggle to run anything over or stream anything over 720p. The panel, the screen, is only a 720p screen, and so you probably won't need to stream anything greater than that, but it is just kind of nice to know that that's where your horsepower taps out. So like I said, a little bit slow, but other Chromebooks on Amazon are actually a lot like that. So my guess is that there are Chromebooks with better processors, newer processors that run faster and higher specs. But my conflict is always that once you are spending around $300 on a Chromebook, you're only $150 away from a really good spec Windows laptop. And I just think to myself, it's worth the extra $150 to buy a Windows laptop. And so that's where my conflict comes from, and where I usually end up just buying these lower spec Chromebooks is that these are $150, and at that point it's not worth buying a Windows laptop. It's not worth the upgrade, and so you do have to sacrifice some performance to get into this price range. Anyway, that's a little bit of a rant, but I just wanted to point that out. It's cheap, but that also means that you're sacrificing a little bit of speed. Anyway, let's talk about some unique pros and cons to this laptop. And the first pro, we'll start with the pros, is the price. Look, for a brand new laptop that gets the job done for a family computer, it is really, really hard to beat $130. And this comes in right at that price point. And so I just think it is a fantastic price, even if it is a little bit slow. The next thing is the build quality. It doesn't actually feel, even though it's all plastic, it doesn't feel cheap or flimsy. I mean, even the screen has a little bit of wobble to it, but even that's not bad. And the deck flex isn't too bad either. And so even though it's made out of plastic, and it's probably made out of cheaper plastic than your kids' toys, it feels pretty sturdy, and I was really impressed with that. The next pro is that it does in fact come with a USB-C charger. I can't stress how much that is in fact a win, and so big fan of that. Another thing is that it's clean and simple. It doesn't give you anything that you don't need, and it doesn't charge you for anything you don't need. So that's kind of a big deal. And then the last pro is that the speakers are actually surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting any even half decent speakers from this machine just because of such the low price point. But they actually turned out really great. I'll play you a little bit here. They're downward firing. There are a couple of speakers, one here, and then there's one here. So they're downward firing and they will vibrate your desk a little bit. But the sound quality was actually really impressive. I'll play you a sample here really quick. So nothing super heavy in terms of the bass, but they are clear and they do play actually pretty loud. And so I was really impressed with that. I've had $500 computers that don't have speakers nearly as good as that. And so that really impressed me. But now let's go ahead and talk about the cons. And first of all, the screen is not great. Like I mentioned before, it's a 720p panel. I think it's actually like 768 or something like that. It's a 1366 by 768. I was just checking my screen for that. 1366 by 768. So just barely above 720p. And you can tell, it's fine for an 11.6 inch screen, that's what this laptop is. But it's not the best. And then it's also not an IPS panel, which means that the viewing angles aren't going to be super great. And then it also has this bluish hue that's a little bit harsh on the eyes. I've only ever used the computer for about an hour to 2 hours at a time. But even then, I start to get some eye fatigue from looking at the screen too long. So that's not the greatest experience. The next thing is that the trackpad and the keyboard feel a little bit cramped. Now, the trackpad actually is just objectively small. Let me open this up for you. Trackpad is just a little bit small. I mean, it's like barely, 4 fingers width, and my hands aren't big. It's just kind of an objectively small trackpad. The keyboard, on the other hand, is a full-size keyboard, but something about it feels cramped to me. It could be because the actuation force is a little bit more than I would like in order for the key to actually press, right? So I have to press a little bit harder than I was expecting on a keyboard like this. And so something about it feels a little bit cramped. Either way, it's not super awesome. The next thing is that it's not a 2-in-1. So this is as far as it leans back, and then it's not a touch screen at all. So that is not a big deal to me, and I know it's not a big deal to a lot of people, but if you are getting this for, say, one of your children who is coming off using a tablet and trying to learn computers for the first time, they will probably expect a touch pad and something, or a touch screen, and then something that can flip over into a tablet just because that's what they're used to. But this doesn't have that functionality, so that's something to be aware of. And then the last con, like I said, is that it is slow. It's on the lower end of the performance spectrum for Amazon. So that's something to consider. At the end of the day, I'm not confident that this gets my recommendation. I mean, it's hard to fault it. It is just such an inexpensive laptop, and it still sells really well on Amazon, and there's a reason for that. You pair the price of $135 with the fact that it gives you everything you need and nothing more, and it doesn't charge you more for that, means that it's actually a pretty good value proposition. I guess I'll say that it's good to get if you just need an extra internet browsing device for the house. You have a few kids or you have cousins over or something like that, and you just need another thing. It's cheaper than buying a phone, and so it's easier to run parental controls on it and stuff like that. So I guess that's cool. Or if you're a school and you're buying this for a bunch of grade schoolers, this will probably get the job done. But I wouldn't use it for work or school personally. I just would want something a little more capable than that. But all in all, it's a pretty good value laptop, especially for its price point. There just aren't a lot that that beat it out there. Anyway, if you found this review helpful, I would love a like and a sub from you. And until next time, we'll see you later.